Hi, Johnny Richardson here, one half of the illustrious duo that you know as the Coffee Boys. And today what I want to talk about is the first of the 5 key things that you need to do to set up a profitable and successful, in terms of helping you to manage your life as well, coffee shop. What I mean by that is it's very important trying to get a coffee shop together that makes money. That's a key thing. And arguably that is your first goal. The second part of what we always try and work on is how to create a coffee shop that can work necessarily without you. So the first of these 5 things that you need to do obviously is ideal if you do it in the first 6 weeks of operation. But if you have an existing coffee shop and it is not running in a lovely, smooth, coherent fashion, then you can start doing it from the 1st of next week, or the Monday of next week. So this process is something that I have, to an extent, drummed and learned the hard way, but kind of then increasingly drum in with clients at the moment. And what it is that you sit down with a little notepad in your back pocket every single day. And during those 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks ideally, but as I say, you can apply it to your own business if you have an existing one, starting from now. And every time something goes wrong in that business, what you do is you simply take out your little notebook and you write down in your little notebook what the thing is that went wrong, and then you fix that thing there and then on the spot. So you fix whatever the issue is that has gone wrong. Let's say your coffee machine has broken down. You find out that you get the machine fixed. That could involve just doing something there and then on the spot, or it could involve then having to get through it to an engineer or working some sort of another way. Or let's say you've run out of a particular stock item, or you know there's something has gone wrong with some other piece of machinery, something's gone wrong with a member of staff. Anything that goes wrong goes into your little book. Doesn't have to be with quite such a little poncy fountain pen as I might use, probably best not, because you don't want ink in your pocket, but you really want to be writing down everything that isn't perfect in the book during the day. And you fix it there and then on the spot, and then in the evening you come home and you write. You go through the things that have gone wrong, because you'll forget it unless you write it down. You go through the things that have gone wrong and you start to create a system which will deal with that. So if you have an issue with a particular member of staff, that somebody is continually doing something wrong, or a number of member of staff are doing the same sort of thing wrong, you start to develop then, you think, well, obviously there's a training issue there. And you start to build up then the process in terms of how you might deal with that training issue. If there's something consistently going wrong with the coffee machine that doesn't require the engineer to come in, then you put together a little bit of a system for how to manage that. You perhaps type something up which says how to manage the problem and put it under the coffee machine so that it can be quickly dealt with by somebody else other than yourself. If you run out of a stock item on a consistent basis and have difficulties with suppliers, then you look at the way to try and end up continuing to have stock of that item, that you are not so reliant upon that supplier. So one of the rules, if I take it back to sandwich bar days, one of the rules that I had by the time we had gone to our second sandwich bar, because we made all of these mistakes ourselves. In the very first sandwich bar, we basically just fixed everything on a day-to-day basis, and we'd arrive into work the next day and very quickly the same problem would arise and we'd fix it there and then. So we were running that classic hands-on business and consistently working in the business rather than on the business to get the solution. So what we would do is, one of the rules that I had was that you had to have every item on the menu available for sale. So that if somebody has a specific sandwich that they liked, I did not ever want that person to be coming in and not able to get that sandwich. And very often people are creatures of habit with something like a sandwich. So if they liked that thing, they had gone to the effort of coming to my sandwich bar to buy that sandwich, I insisted that they would be able to get it. Now, it's very rare actually on an ongoing basis, unless you have a business like, for example, Subway, which have very, very good systems, that you will be able to get every item. And for that sandwich bar, when for that particular sandwich bar, we reached a stage that for a period of about 2 years, every single item was on the menu every day. One of the key things that we had was pastrami. It seems like a petty story this, but I'm trying to just tell you how it was drilled right down. In those days it was relatively difficult to get consistent supply of pastrami. We really only had one person in Northern Ireland who could supply us with that pastrami. So what I did was I pre-sliced a number of the bags of pastrami and put them in the freezer, so that whenever there would be a delay through from that supplier who wasn't particularly reliable, or even if we had messed up some of our own deliveries, I always knew that there was some form of backup in the freezer. It's a very small and petty example, but we did that with every single item that was there. And these days then, most of us have close by, you know, a decent supermarket. You should never go into a sandwich bar and not be able to get those items. You should never go into any hospitality business of any type and not be able to get some of those key items. So for example, going into a coffee shop and not being able to get skim milk, that's a nonsense. You should always be able to get it, even if you have to go through a slight emergency process.
Virus database has been updated.
One of the key things, so for example, let's say it's the skim milk, what you're doing is you will end up with a structure and a culture whereby people think that it's okay to run out every day and go and get the backup milk. That is not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is you look for the system so that it runs seamlessly, and then you put extra systems in should that initial system not work properly. So let's go to the milk scenario. You make sure that you potentially have a couple of different suppliers should the first let you down, the second, and that you have enough milk, perhaps slightly more than you were initially bargaining on, so that you don't go through that process of running out of milk in the first place. And if you do run out, then you have a process whereby if somebody has to nip out to the shop to buy some extra milk, they're supposed to be in and out within a certain period of time. The way that the money is taken from the till, or the structure for how they pay for that extra milk, there's a system surrounding that, and you only allow that to happen, say, once every 3 or 4 weeks. So you're continually monitoring the success of the system as well as putting the system in there as well. And what you often find is in badly run establishments, you will find that people are nipping out to the shops every single day to get a few of those extra items. So your system needs to be quite robust. It needs to have lots of backups within it to make sure that it doesn't just allow the staff to have a little bit of a break during the afternoon, because that's what will happen quite easily. So that's the first lesson. You get a little notebook, and for a 6-week period you write down everything that goes wrong during the day in the business. You fix it there and then, and you go home at night and you create a system around that. And it could be any sort of a problem, as I say. It could be staffing based, it could be supply based, it could be anything that goes wrong in the business. And what your ultimate goal is, at the end of that 6-week period, you will have created these systems, you'll have created training programs, you'll have created everything within your business so that it can start to run coherently and systematically without you having to be there, so that the same quality of service that a customer expects when you are there will be covered by your staff. Now, most new owners never do this, and those are the people who end up then being chained to their business for months and years on in the future. So they end up with the business running them rather than they having a business which works for them. Very clear distinction there, very important distinction there. Your goal is to create a business or turn your existing business into a business that supports your lifestyle, not a business that effectively is your lifestyle and requires you to be there. So, can't emphasize how important that one is. I also can't emphasize enough how little of it goes on. If you're not in the business and you've managers in the business, then you get them to do the same thing. You need to have people recording the things that went wrong and creating solutions even when you're not there too. So this extends past that, but 6 weeks is a decent period to work out what those problems are and then carry on from there. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that's been of some benefit to you.